Hello, this is Samantha Clark, and this is my classroom environment plan. So the first thing I will discuss is the physical environment. Um, Two big things that I'll be discussing here is belonging and social constructivism. So one big aspect of belonging that we've been taught through both semesters of the program is displaying work on walls. We see an example here of little amazing work coming soon. One thing that Ginsberg talks about a lot as well is that students are more likely to feel welcome in an environment that belongs to them. So that would be having their own creations on the walls, having their own work on the walls, and also students are less likely to destroy an environment that they feel belongs to them. Also, we need an area to display rules and bulletins so that students are reminded of these things, whether the rules are created at the beginning of the year and displayed all year, or they are amended like a constitution that will be constantly posted, and bulletins for events. One thing that I don't have listed here is growth mindset posters, which are really important in the classroom to remind students throughout the year. A big thing for me is grouped desks. I feel like students are more likely to participate. It is more easy for them to understand if they're in conversation groups or if they belong to a team. We see this especially in the article Belonging as a Guiding Principle in the Education of Adolescence that we read by Allen and Bowles. The belonging in groups, whether in school or family, community, or otherwise, positively affects well-being, physical well-being, and psychological well-being. One thing we specifically see is if we see benefits of belonging for the individual, is individuals who report a sense of belonging to groups and networks are likely to exhibit positive psychological effects and functions. And one major thing that we are considering, obviously in this class, but as teachers, is the well-being of our students in our classrooms, because they are less likely to learn if they are not well, if they are not comfortable. We need to lower that affective filter. And a big aspect of that is belonging in a group. So a lot of the physical environment revolves around making sure that students feel like they belong. Along with this, another thing my guide teacher does is she has an area of extra supplies for students. This belongs to the students. She fills it up and they know that they can go there and get whatever they need from that station. It belongs to them. It does not belong to her. They do not need to ask permission. It is there for them and for their learning. So next, the opening and closing routines. So our most recent unit was on mindfulness. So beginning with a focus exercise is likely something I'll do. It may change as the years go on to what students prefer and what's more comfortable for students. But I feel like it's really important for students to come in and focus before we just launch into the lesson. Maybe they have math on their mind, or maybe they just came from the school bus or something happened to them before class, and just focusing in on the content. And then we can set the daily agenda, prepare students for what's ahead, and end with a reminder based on growth mindset. So often at the end of class, papers get passed back, assignments get passed back, grades are shown. And we need to remember that along with that, we need students to know that no matter what their grade is, it can go up from there. Rules and expectations. This is just an example here. It's a mixture of rules and growth mindset, I'd say tips, guidelines. So belonging and growth, along with that first unit of belonging and our growth mindset unit. So there would probably be basic starting rules. So I see here I haven't gotten to this big list yet because we would want to make rules with the students. So that's another aspect of belonging. If the rules belong to the students, then they will more likely follow them. One thing that we did in my senior year, of course it was a poli-science class, is we made a constitution, and each class had their own constitution and they had to follow those rules. And then what I'll talk about more is that constitution led to a point system, which could be a reward system, but also a punishment system because they made the rules themselves. And then these rules would be posted, copied, and sent home as a contract so that the parents could see it, the parent would sign it, the student would sign it, but it wouldn't feel like this obligatory, scary document because the student had a hand in creating it. and having high academic expectations. This is a big aspect of cognitive development, and having growth mindset is that students they feel like their teacher has high expectations for them, no matter what their background knowledge is, or no matter how well they've done in school before. So some example rules I have here, just mixing the rules with that growth mindset so it doesn't feel like guidelines, doesn't feel like you're policing them. Being ready to learn, but dream big. Say please and thank you, but try new things and take risks and make mistakes. Follow the directions, but believe in yourself. Raise your hand and work hard. I really like this one because it doesn't just feel like 10 commandments. It's to benefit students. So classroom community. I feel like this is sometimes difficult to build, but it depends. We did a lot of work in this when I was in high school in theater because we got to move around and we'd play a lot of games because theater games can be mixed with icebreaker games. So belonging and social constructivism. Obviously, Vygotsky believes that we learn in groups. We learn by discussing with others. So this would come from my grouped seating as well. So using the first week of class to learn about one another is really important for me. I don't want time to just go by and students to not know each other. I've noticed a lot in my observations in classrooms that students from the other side of the classroom still don't know who's in their classroom. People are presenting and they're asked to write down their names and they don't know what to write because there are 38 of them. But it is worth it for everyone in the room to feel like they belong. So maybe taking the first 10 minutes of each class for the first week to play a name game where everyone stands in a circle and you toss a ball to each other. That might actually help students feel more comfortable in the classroom as well. Displaying student work and creations on the wall is really important because of that belonging. And the rules include conduct. So the rules aren't just about eating in class or drinking in class, coffee, not alcohol. Rules include conduct, so how we treat one another. So restorative practices is something that we discuss in our other behavior class, our online class. So this is really interesting. I'm going to open this here. So restorative practices, it's the fact that there's a conversation and that there's an effort to keep the student in the classroom before they're sent out, before they're suspended. So the exchange is something like, so if something happens in the classroom, one student disrespects another, you would pull the student aside and you would say, so what happened in there? And then after the student has a chance to talk, because often students are punished before they get a chance to explain themselves, you can say, how do you feel about what happened? Because we're valuing the student's feelings. And then we ask, how do you think that outburst affected those around you? So we've talked a lot about how students, because of their lack of empathy for others, they need to be taught it. And this is a way that this can be taught. So this is Emily Riley's Implementing Restorative Practices in the Classroom, and this is about preventing students from leaving the school environment. And I feel like that is really important when considering consequences, that we're starting with that before they are explicitly punished. So the goal is to bring those who caused harm in a scenario together with those who have been harmed directly or indirectly. So indirectly is we are asking them how they thought others felt. Directly is giving students that were affected the chance to say how they felt. Then attempt to resolve the issues within the classroom so that the student doesn't get removed from the learning environment, and prevent removing students from the learning environment. And then reward with positive affirmations and a point system. So like I said, in my senior year of high school, we had a constitution. And instead of making internal class feuds, all of the classes competed against each other and the points were listed on the board. And I find this really valuable because the whole class themselves is working towards a goal instead of it interrupting class. So the class that gets the highest scores on the test will get points. Or the class that puts together a fundraiser gets points. And I found this to be a lot more beneficial than the classes where students were competing against each other within class. All right, so this was my classroom environment plan. Thank you so much.